Hello and welcome to the Golden Octagon MMA podcast. I am Matt Anderson. On the other side of your screen is Dorian Rose. If this is your first time here, consider giving us a subscribe right down there. Promise you will not be disappointed. Sit back, relax, and listen to two longtime MMA fans talk about some MMA. How you doing this week, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Coming off a crazy weekend of some MMA. Unfortunately, nothing coming up this weekend though. But I think they're kind of ramping up for that card coming up in September with that pairs card. So that's gonna be awesome. But a Saturday that we can look forward to without having any MMA. I don't know what we're going to be able to do because I don't know what I'm going to bet now.
It's funny that you said to look forward to, but I don't know if I want to be looking forward to it, my guy. I'm going to be like, damn, what am I going to do this weekend?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I said as far as the bets and stuff, because I'm a big football fan, but I mean it's preseason, so not really too much kicking off there either. So, yeah, going to be pretty much a night of just maybe watching a lot of Netflix or HBO Max.
Yeah, for those of you that are really into it, we do have Dana White Contender Series. Tuesday still happening. Happened last night. For sure going to be happening next weekend. But enough with that. Let's talk about what we're talking about on today's show. I guess up first on this show, this past weekend's fights. We're going to go over the results, the recap, just talk about it real quick. Moving on down to pretty much the 170-pound division as a whole. I just want to get Dorian's thoughts and opinions on just the standings. There's a lot happening here. Maybe something to look forward to, something like that. Nextly, fight announcements, newly announced fights, upcoming fights, signed, talked about, anything like that. And then we will get what Dorian really wanted to talk about, a few predictions from each of us, and we will give our opinion on a bold statement or something that may happen in a division or just in general in the UFC. We're going to make a few bold statements, and then we're going to see if those come true later on in the year. And if not, oh well. But before we get started, if you guys wouldn't mind, treat that like button like Leon Edwards did to Kamaru Usman on Saturday night, and we would greatly appreciate that. And subscribe if you are not yet. Comments are always appreciated down below. Let's get into it, man. First topic of today's show. This past weekend's fights, dude. I honestly don't even have my phone out, not even ready for it. But I guess we will start. Let me just give you guys the results off the top. So starting from the beginning at the prelims, and I'm going to give you guys mine and Dorian's picks as well, because we do have to announce the weekly pick champ. Man, dude, I cannot get my phone to cooperate with me right now. It's like wanting to go to like fucking UFC.com/ some other shit. It's like, bro, just show me the fucking fights.
Give me what I need to see.
Exactly. So up first, starting off at the early prelims, Victor Altamirano gets it done over Daniel Da Silva. This is the first one that we picked on for the entire night, dude. You did pick Altamirano, and I did pick Daniel Da Silva. It looked like Daniel Da Silva was going to get him out of there super soon, dude, and pretty much doing what Daniel Da Silva does and just kind of fucking laying it all out there and then just pretty much giving up like he normally does. Next fight of the night, Arichi Lang taking on Jay Perrin. Me and you did both pick Arichi Lang to get that done, and he did by decision. Our next one that we did pick different on, Amir Albazi taking on Francisco Figueroa, Little Figgy, as some people call him. You did pick Figgy. I did pick Amir Albazi. Amir Albazi gets that done in round one via submission. Moving on to just the regular early prelims, AJ Fletcher and Angelusa, dude. This was one that was kind of crazy, back and forth for the most part. You did pick AJ Fletcher. I picked Angelusa. Dude, this fight was crazy back and forth, but in the end, Angelusa ends up getting the third round decision. This is one that really surprises me to no end. Sean Woodson taking on Luis Saldana. Me and you were both heavy on Sean Woodson, and it ends up being a draw at the end of three. A nuts outcome, but we'll talk about that later in the show. Jared Gordon taking on Leonardo Santos. This is one that I guess we picked different on, but it wasn't really in our picks because I was like, man, I don't even know what the fuck is happening here. The 42-year-old Leonardo Santos just pretty much just outworked by the younger Jared Gordon pretty much for the 3 rounds. But to be fair, Leonardo Santos has literally shown time and time again that he has about 4 minutes of gas tank and then he's done. So kind of surprising, like that Jared Gordon couldn't actually get the finish there. One that also, dude, this one surprised the fuck out of me. Me and you were both on Alexander King Kong Romanov, one of my favorite fighters, but Marcin Tybura showed to have the better gas tank, the better UFC caliber experience, and gets it done via decision. And then at the main card, dude. So right now, I'm actually up 2 fights. You are up 1 fight. You only have 1 win right now, but we are going to move to the main card. Tyson Pedro just absolutely demolishes Harry Hunsucker, dude. What the absolute hell happened there? One that I think we were both incorrect on this one. I don't remember who you actually picked on this one, but women's bantamweight bout, Wu Yanan taking on Lucy Pavlova. I thought Wu Yanan was going to get it done, but Lucy gets it done. Second round TKO. Who did you pick on that one, man? I actually don't remember.
I think I might have picked Wu, but I think it might have been just due to the UFC experience. But to be completely honest, I can't really remember on that fight. I wasn't too strong either way.
Fair enough, fair enough. But another one, dude, that we were both wrong on. Jose Aldo taking on Merab Dvalishvili, dude. I have a bold statement about this fight. Some people may hate it, some people may love it, but to me, in my eyes, I saw it and I see it coming. Paulo Costa taking on Luke Rockhold, dude. Paulo Costa gets it done in the 3 round decision. But what a absolute dude! I could not have been laughing more in this fight. I was truly like, "What the fuck is going on?" Paulo Costa gets it done. You did pick Luke Rockhold in that fight, so technically, right now it's official. But I will wait to right now to say it because at the main event, dude, you did pick Kamaru Usman. I did rock with the underdog, Leon, Rocky, Edwards. You know what I'm looking for. And guess what?
And
I'm
don't
looking
even
around for no reason because it's strapped on the side right here, baby. I can't get it off.
can't
Right
even get the
here,
shit off.
baby. It's because it's so ready to stay home. It's so ready to stay here. It don't want to go nowhere. It's okay, baby. You're staying here this week again, and no fights next week. So we got another week with the belt next week too. And still, baby, pick champ this week. Leon Edwards gets a devastating 5th round head kick over Kamaru Usman. He turned what was looking like into the old Kamaru Snoozman with the wrestling and just control. He turned that Kamaru Snoozman into the true Snoozman, dude. He put him out sleeping, dude, with his eyes wide open. You guys will for sure see it on the thumbnail because you know I have that one in the bank ready to go, man. So we'll start right there, dude. Aside from just being a little sad that you're not and still not pick champ this week, you had a little taste of it for a few weeks. Main takeaway from the card as a whole, dude.
I mean, you got to start with that main event and really just with the result and the way it happened. And I mean, you got to be happy for Leon, just as far as the road that he's been to getting to the point that he's been now. And you know, when we had did podcasts even last year, you know, I had vouched, you know, many and plenty of times that Leon Edwards should be next. But I had even admitted that after that Nate Diaz fight, you know, in that 5th round, I thought he kind of, you know, I even said he fumbled the bag a little bit as far as, you know, that 5th round, him having such a dominating performance against Nate Diaz, and then that 1 minute slip up damn near cost him a title shot. But he ended up holding out, ended up getting what he felt was rightfully deserved for him. And he actually came out there in the 1st round, and he looked good in the 1st round. And that's why, you know, we'd even mentioned it a little bit coming into the fight about the size difference that Leon's not as built, as Kamaru is as far as his physique, but he's definitely a pretty big dude, and he stands over Kamaru about a good 2 or 3 inches, and has a pretty good reach as well. So seeing them stand next to one another, you could definitely tell that Leon was a taller guy. So he's not a small guy by any means. He's not easy to be thrown around. Had a good first round. The first guy to ever take down Kamaru Usman in a UFC fight. Was able to get that back control. I was really surprised that after he got top mount, that he didn't try to keep top mount and try to like smash him instead of taking his back. But there in that first round, I was very tense because I thought Leon might have been able to have gotten that choke. Because if you know, Kamaru Usman's only loss before this was by rear naked choke. But there in that second, third, and fourth round, really, Usman just kind of started getting his groove and just turned it into just a muddy fight. Just kept the pressure, kept backing Leon up. And I even texted you during the fight, and I said, so is Leon Edwards trying to do the Alistair Overeem cage defense now, where he just shells up against the cage and just lets Kamaru just tee off on him and just rip body shots to him? It was like, Leon there just in the middle of the fight, he just got super flat. And I think that Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan was right to point out that, hey, here in the later part of this fight, he looks pretty defeated because even his coach getting his butt in that going into that fifth round, he was even kind of pointing out that Leon looked pretty lifeless going into that round and that he needed to kind of do something. And there at the end, people were calling it a lucky shot. I don't think it was a lucky shot. I mean, I just think it was a Hail Mary, and he ended up setting it up beautifully. Ended up kind of feinting that rear cross hand. Kamaru dipped, and he just threw the head kick right over top of it. I mean, it was set up picture perfect. And then that post fight speech afterwards, man, I might have listened to it at least a good 6 or 7 times. Like, I get cold chills listening to Leon Edwards just finally just break through, realizing his moment. When he just said a pound for pound, headshot, dead. That's it. I mean, cold chills just stood up on my arm when he did that, man. So I just couldn't help be, happy for him. You feel bad for Kamaru, obviously, because the reign that he was on. And he was controlling the fight up until that moment. But on the other hand, for Leon, just real happy to see him in that post-fight speech, man. That's going to live on in history. And in the next UFC game, there's definitely going to be a bunch of quotes that's going to go along with that you can tag along with your fighter on your profile, because there was a bunch of good quotes from that post-fight speech.
Cool. All right. Well, Dorian's main takeaway from the pay-per-view was apparently the entire main card event. What happened? Because that was my question. I was like, main takeaway from the pay-per-view before we get started on the fights. And he just explained the main event for what happened. All right. Indeed. So that is what happened in the main event. I guess my takeaways from the main event, if that's where you want to go, man, was I guess at first I was like, dude, he shot for a takedown, right? And he defended, but Leon went for a guillotine and put himself like under Kamaru. I was like, no, what are you doing? I was like, well, that was dumb. Like, you shouldn't have done that. And then just a little bit later on in the first round, he ended up getting that takedown, and super surprising because I was like, damn, like I didn't see that one coming. But from round 2 to 4, dude, it was one-way traffic. Kamaru was on him like clothes. He could not get him off, dude. Like, Leon could not get him off, dude. There was nothing that he could do. Round 5, dude, as you said, threw up the Hail Mary, threw out the like the jab, and then like the same side fucking head kick, dude. And Kamaru went to fucking lean off the jab and just lean right into the most perfectly timed head kick. And I did it on my card video yesterday. Chef's kiss, dude. It was fucking priceless. Perfect. You won't find a better head kick, dude. It was set up perfectly.
Yeah, it was absolute money, and even Leon kind of talking about it afterwards in the post fight speech. He was super hoarse trying to explain it, but I mean it was set up beautifully. He wasn't really throwing a lot of head kicks in the fight. He was throwing a lot of leg and body kicks. So I think that was a reason why he was able to land that head kick because from the angle that it was at, I even told you I thought Kamaru initially blocked the kick. From the way the camera was angled, it was kind of behind Usman. But I didn't notice that, yeah, it slipped through clean and it looked like Kamaru was kind of bracing for a body kick and that head kick landed perfect, man. And Leon was finally able to realize becoming the champion.
Indeed, dude. One thing that, dude, I actually said this like to my girlfriend like right there in the fight, dude. I don't think I could, if I was a fighter, dude, I could not have fucking Leon's coaches. I would be like, bro, what you yelling at me like that ain't fucking helping me, bro. I'm fucking trying, dude. Like, come on, Leon, man. You have to fight back, Leon. Like, like he's not trying, bro.
You have to go to the fire, Leon. You have to go to the fire.
Like, come on, bro. He's probably like, bro, I'm fucking trying, dude. Like, I could
Yeah.
not have his coach, dude. That would not help me at all, dude. I would have like, man, you gotta say something inspiring. You're just yelling at me.
But dude, like I mean, to a certain
The
extent, like as
exact
that fight's going
opposite
on,
of the exact opposite of uh, like fucking Trevor Whitman, dude. Like fucking Trevor was so calm. He's like even like after like the first round, he was like, "Good." He's like, "We have to build from here." Yeah, like like he's so calm. And then Leon's corner is like, "What are you fucking doing, Leon?" Like,
you have to fight out of the fire, Leon. You have to fight out the fire.
it was crazy,
Yeah,
dude.
I mean, to a certain extent, to that point, like this is his last chance to realize becoming a UFC champion. He's already lost to Kamaru Usman once. He's on his way to losing again, and he did look lifeless up to that point. And going into that fifth round, this is literally all or nothing for the championship. And the pressure's on. So I mean, the coaches probably feel it as much as Leon probably does. Not to say that Leon's not trying, but hey, sometimes you need that little kick in the ass every now and then to kind of get you up and get you going.
But
And I
bro,
can
he
kind
was
of
getting a
understand where
kick
his
in the
coach is coming from.
ass. He was getting a kick in the ass maybe after round two. But after round three and that after round four, like at this point, he's on the ground and you're just kicking him in the ribs, bro. You're just adding insult to injury. One thing that I do want to I want to ask you something, man. Do we have a new UFC curse, dude? Is it DC when he's like, man, this fight's over, this fight's done, this guy's got it in the bag, and then just absolutely gets fucking knocked out within 10 seconds later, dude? That's happened like twice within a few weeks now, yeah?
Yeah, I think the other one was the Ode
The Ode
Osborne
Osborne,
and
yeah.
yeah, and Tyson Nam one. So that was one too. Hopefully DC doesn't start getting anything going too much. He is pretty sensitive as it is anyway, so I can imagine that he'll try to buck against that as much as he can. But nah, leave DC alone. He's just
Dude,
he's calling it straight.
dude, he was like, nah, Kamaru's got this in the bag. He's just waiting for his last 1 minute now, dude. And that's one thing. Right before we get off this, dude, that was Kamaru's downfall right there, dude. He was going forward the entire fight until that point. Leon had a small flurry. Kamaru was backing up, dude. And the one time that Kamaru starts backing up, he gets fucking nailed with the head kick, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good point, and I listened to Rashad Evans talk about it a little bit as well, and he had maybe even mentioned that Kamaru, with him putting on the pressure as much as he did, maybe that even attributed to him, cardio wise, not being able to hold up there towards the end, and him kind of taking his foot off the gas right there because where he was tired from putting on so much pressure during the fight, and that one lapse of judgment ended up costing him the title. As my camera ends up fogging me up here.
I don't know what got more tired, the fighters or Dorian's camera every week on the podcast.
Hey, to be fair, I had a couple week streak where I was good and you was falling in. So
I mean, it just does it for like a split second anyway. We're good. With that being said, man, any other takeaways from the main event as a whole, or just shout out Leon Rocky Edwards? But
yeah, like
even
that.
if he would have lost this week, he still wouldn't have won the belt right here. So
Yeah,
it's okay.
the MMA guys are working against me this weekend for sure. That's all I know.
A few weeks in a row now, man. I don't know. Because it was clean sweep last weekend, dude. At least you won one fight this week. You're getting a little bit better, man. Maybe
Uh,
in a few weeks, so you win a couple. All right, dude. But
Look,
let's talk about.
I try to let your confidence get up, but I try to let your confidence get up. But now next week, I'm coming back.
All
I'm
right,
coming back.
you come back next week. All right. Co-main event, dude. You picked Luke Rockhold here. I did pick Paulo Costa. Dude, it surprised me, dude. I thought Paulo Costa was probably going to end him via TKO, starting off with the left hook hooked into round one, dude. And you actually did message me during this fight, and you're like, bro, every time Luke Rockhold gets hit, I cringe. But dude, it looks like he was probably going to get knocked out, dude. The thing is, I don't think Paulo hits like that, dude. I don't think he has one shot KO power. I thought that there's a fucking gnat here or some shit. I did think that he was going to TKO him. Like, I thought he was going to get him fucking shelled up on the fence. Like, it looked like was close to it multiple times, dude. One thing, dude, how tired was Luke Rockhold after round one, dude? Hands on the fucking knees, dude. And they went on to fight for two more fucking rounds, dude. That fight was an absolute shit show. Paulo Costa ends up getting the third round decision, dude. But in my opinion, dude, all that fight did was lower Paulo Costa's stock because no one thought high of Luke Rockhold. He wasn't ranked. He hadn't fought in like 3 or 4 years. You fought this guy, you couldn't finish him that has been doing nothing but getting finished over and over. And at certain moments, he was yelling fuck you to your face and stumbling your big ass across the octagon. That fight didn't do anything for Paulo Costa besides lower his stock, in my opinion. Take away from that fight, man.
I think that's actually a good point about the lowering the stock for him because that is a good point as far as Luke being the perception of him being chinny and everything. But I had picked Luke going into the fight because I honestly it was more for sentimental value. Him coming off the long layoff, he's one of the legends of the game. Former champion. Kind of wanted to see him come back, and it would be pretty cool to see if he can kind of mix himself back up into the top of the division again. Because you can see that even 3 years off, he still had a lot of talent, or he's still got a lot of talent. That question mark kick is still super dangerous. He's got good body kicks. He's got good hands in general. I just think 3 years off, man, even with the altitude, he was probably tired because of altitude as well. But I think a lot of it was just because he just wasn't in fight shape, and him being 37 as opposed to him being, 31, coming off that layoff and all the injuries that he's had. And hell, he damn near lost his leg a couple years ago after he had that bad staph infection. So he's just kind of gone through so much. And, I kind of wanted to see him come through on the other side to get that dub. But put on a damn good effort. Even with him, I thought he lost all 3 rounds, but I thought there at the beginning of the second round, really thought he had a moment there. He ended up hitting Paulo Costa with a big shot, but he was so exhausted by the beginning of the second round. It was like he wasn't able to capitalize on him hurting Costa with a big left hand early in the second round. And even there late in the third round, as you pointed out, another big left hand that he lands on Costa and badgers him. And Costa gets knocked back. And they end up getting on the ground, and Costa has top position, and Luke Rockhold's able to reverse it, and then Luke Rockhold does like some like weird like grunge porn shit, and like starts rubbing his damn face in Paulo Costa's face, and starts rubbing the blood that's dripping off one of his cuts all over Paulo Costa's face. It was like an episode of Jerry Springer or something like that was going on, dude. It was absolutely nuts. The fight was batshit crazy, but definitely deserved to be fight of the night, because that fight was nuts from beginning to end. And I think, as far as your point with the stock, I do think, like, I think his stock is kind of more of just like action fighter, and that's it. As far as realizing to become a champion, or maybe even working his way back to Izzy rematch or anything like that, I think that's long gone for Costa as of right now. I think action fighter, you could put him as the feature bout on a pay per view, or the co-main of maybe a kind of like a lackluster similar to that one. But I think that's kind of as high as the stock is right now.
How'd you like that sweet tornado kick?
Hey, that shit was pretty. That shit was pretty
Yeah,
sweet, dude.
that was pretty
Dude, he had that.
sick.
Dude, he had that, and he had a couple of those body kicks that he landed on Casa as well. That was pretty damn sweet.
Yeah, I think
Dude, Luke looked good, man.
like Luke was never bad. He always had like slick striking. He was dangerous on the ground. He had good wrestling. His at certain point, dude, he just got chinny, dude. After the fucking Michael Bisping fight, dude, it was just all downhill from there. And it's like it was almost like every time, like there went confidence, that just confidence kept going down. And it's just like, bro, at a certain point, you can fake it, but you just don't have what you once had anymore. So that being said, dude, let's move on down to the feature fight of the night. Merab Dvalishvili, the machine, taking on Jose Aldo, dude. I'm gonna let you go first here because I have a bold statement, and I'm just gonna save it till the last, and then I'll get your reaction at the end. You already know what I'm gonna say, but go ahead. What happened in this fight?
Yeah, I mean, for me in this fight, I picked Aldo as well. I thought he did win the first round. He did come out like a little bit more assertive there in the first round. He was landing some of those knees to the body whenever Merab was stepping in. Some of those were a thing of beauty. And I did think that he won the first round, but I thought there in the second round, even though that Merab wasn't really able to get any takedowns, just his constant pressure and his aggression to able to get Aldo backed up to the fence, and just basically have him playing defense the whole time. Even though it wasn't the most fan friendly second round, I thought Merab won the second round. And I thought there in the third round, it was just weird that Costa, or I'm sorry, that Jose Aldo was. It just seemed like he was coasting there in the third round, and he had just got to a point where he just wasn't almost engaging at all. And to me, at that point in the fight, going into the third round, it's an absolute coin flip, and anybody can win this fight, and you have to win this third round in order to win this fight. And for some reason, Aldo, maybe he thought he was up 2-0 on the scorecards or whatever, but just didn't seem to want to engage at all, and was kind of playing a clock, and it ended up working against him, and ended up having him lose the fight. He ended up losing 29-28, and I thought that he rightfully so lost, because I thought he lost rounds 2 and 3, because he ended up taking it a little bit more easy than I thought he should have there. And congrats to Merab. I mean, it wasn't the most fan friendly win, but still at the same time, super consistent. And I think that's like 8 wins in a row for him now. So he's well on his way to the top of the division.
Yeah, dude, but he don't want to fight the top of the division, so it's kind of odd, man. But I guess, dude, I'll get there, dude. I thought Jose looked okay in round one, dude, but this kind of goes back to when he was fighting like what was it, like Zombie, like around like fucking that time, dude. He was trying to do just enough to win, dude. Like it's like he barely did just enough. And it reminds me, dude, it reminds me of Tyron Woodley right before his fucking downfall, dude. Jose Aldo in round 2 and 3, dude, was doing the Woodley. He was going, putting his back to the fence, and only coming out in like short 30-second bursts and then going right back to the fence. Dude, that is reminiscent of Tyron Woodley once he just got a little bit older and just, he was the champion for like a little bit. He got too comfortable, dude. Jose Aldo is kind of looking that way to me. I'm not saying that's where he's going, but we talked about it right before this fight. We're like, man, when is time going to catch up with him? Blah, 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 blah. I don't think it's going to be this fight. I think he beats Merab. Sure enough, dude. It was either the altitude or Jose Aldo he's just getting older, man. What I didn't understand at the end at all, it was Jose Aldo looked completely flabbergasted that he had lost that fight. He's like, what? How did I lose the fight? Like, bro, round 2 and 3, you didn't do anything at all. Like you did nothing. I guess Jose Aldo thought if he was able to stuff the takedowns, then he wins the fight. But it was kind of nuts that Merab was still able to win the fight without his main tool working at all. He went to plan B. Merab beat Jose Aldo with his plan B, dude.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And I think he was like 0 for 16, 0 for 18 for
Yeah,
takedowns or something like that.
that.
Yeah, the numbers were looking very similar to Tyron Woodley and Damian Maia when Woodley stuffed all those takedowns, but Merab he just went out there and he ended up outworking him at the end of the day. And I thought he rightfully so got the dub. And Jose kind of shot himself in the foot because he won the first round, but decided not to do too much afterwards.
Any thoughts on my fucking Tyron statement?
I mean, I can see what you mean as far as him kind of backing up. The only thing with Woodley, he was a little more gun shy. I think that Aldo thought that he might have won the second round. And then at the start of the third round, he just went ahead and just coasted so that way he didn't get tired and get taken down, possibly a 10-8, and then the fight ends up being a draw or he ends up getting finished on the ground. I think Woodley in those last couple fights against like Usman and Burns and Colby, he had just backed up, but he just didn't do anything at all. Like he just backed up, and Aldo was throwing some stuff. He still threw like a couple of those knees. He threw a couple of jabs. He was throwing some stuff, but Woodley literally would throw nothing. So, and to a certain extent, I can see your point, but I don't think it's all the way Woodley, but a similarity to Woodley. Yeah, I can see that.
It's coming. It's coming, dude. All right, moving on down. Wu Yaonan pretty much gets mollywopped in round 2 by Lucy Pudilova, dude. Not really too much there to talk about. Do you want to go into that, or you want to move on down?
No, really just a good win for Lucy. I know that I was looking away from the TV for a minute because I was like, man, why'd they put this fight on the main card? And then all of a sudden, Lucy just went to Elbow City and just started raining those elbows down at Top Mount. So good win for her in her debut.
Indeed, dude. And he did not get his revenge, dude. The Samoan puncher bag gets punched out again. Tyson Pedro I guess hurts Harry Hunsucker with a jab and then hits him with a teep kick to really get him out of there. Like 2 shots and Harry Hunsucker was out of there. Can we get him out of the UFC, man? Can we get him out? What is he doing here, dude?
Yeah, I think it's very safe to say that was his last UFC fight because all 3 of his fights have ended in the first round by vicious knockout.
The first minute of the first round.
Yeah. Like all of his fights have been ended in the first round by vicious knockout, and that body kick by Pedro was absolutely nasty too. Because some people were like, "Man, that was a low blow. That was a groin shot." But no, that was not a groin shot at all. That was an absolute money shot that he threw, hit him right in the solar plexus. And he timed it up perfectly, and it was a beautiful kick.
Indeed. So we'll move on down to the prelims. Marcin Tybura gets it done over Alexander King Kong Romanov, dude. Round 1, dude, I was like, hell yeah, go King Kong. He was tossing Tybura around everywhere, like he was a pillow, dude. Like he was nothing. But dude, it's like his entire gas tank was around one, and then he didn't really have a whole lot left, dude. If King Kong Romanov can get his gas tank under control, because I understand they were at altitude, dude, but man, that was round one, and you were done at the end of round one. You had nothing for round two, and sure as fuck nothing for round three. We end up going to decision though, dude. Marcin Tyburi gets it done via decision. Take away from the fights besides the absolute turnaround there that happened from round one to three.
Yeah, well, I thought the biggest thing for Romanov, he's been able to go in there and kind of ragdoll most of his opponents coming into this point. But I thought the biggest thing for him in this fight was Tybura is a pretty big step up, and I think that as far as being able to take him down and control him for the whole fight, it's going to be pretty hard to do. As you said, UFC veteran. He's kind of been through the gauntlet. He's fought the highest levels of fighters, and he's fought all the newcomers, and he's seen big tests, and he's kind of been there and done that. And I thought in that first round, Romanov was looking good with the slams and stuff like that, but there were times where he would slam Tybura, and even though he would hit him with a German suplex, looking like Chris Benoit throwing the damn German suplex and getting him down, Tybura a lot of times was getting right to the fence and getting right back up. And as soon as he did, Romanov would take him down again. But dude, that Tybura was what, 250, 260 pounds in that fight, and I think Romanov was what, 236, 238. Like he was, he's in the 230s. You're throwing around a dude that's about 20, 30 pounds heavier than you. That's going to take a lot of energy out of you as that fight weighs on, and I think that's what ultimately ended up plaguing him going into the second and third round, was that he spent so much energy with his big slams that he ended up just exhausting himself. And I do understand that he was fighting in altitude as well. But he had been questioned about a little bit about his gas tank before, but I think he just expends so much energy with those big slams against guys who are heavier than him. It's just going to be hard to maintain that pace for a 3-round fight, and I think it just ultimately came and bit him this time.
I mean, maybe with a little bit more, maybe he can just work on his cardio just a little bit more, dude. Because like he's still a rather big guy. Like he like fucking does still carry around a tad bit of that extra body fat. So maybe he can trim down just a little bit more, dude. Maybe add some muscle, get his cardio in check, and be a pretty much complete fucking monster more than he already is, dude. One that I really don't got too much to say on, dude. Leonardo Santos taking on Jared Gordon. Anything on that fight?
Except that Leonardo Santos, man, for some reason Dana loves the tough contenders. I guess he was on Tough Brazil, dude. Please, 42 years old, fighting in the lightweight division. Please hang it up.
I mean, so is like what's his name? Fucking Clay Guida. They just like fucking recently fought. They're both pretty old, dude.
Yeah, I know, but at least Clay Guida looks like semi-productive, and he's actually won some fights. And even if he hadn't won, he's been competitive. Like Leonardo Santos at this point hasn't even been competitive. So yeah, I could do without seeing him in the UFC anymore.
Dude, Jim Miller, Clay Guida, and fucking Leonardo Santos, dude. Still just doing it, dude. Um, Up next, we got the draw, dude. Luis Saldana taking on Sean Woodson, dude. Me and you both thought Sean Woodson was pretty much, I don't want to say make easy work of like Luis Saldana, but I thought it was going to be a rather good fight. But I just thought the size, like from Woodson, was like fucking going to play a difference. Like fucking Saldana loves the kicks, dude, but for some reason, it almost looked like Sean Woodson cannot find his range, dude. He was just getting picked apart on his way in, dude. At one point, Saldana drops him again, dude. The fight could have been over, but Saldana comes over to I guess land some ground and pound, dude. But for some reason, throws a knee right at Sean Woodson's forehead, dude. In my opinion, the fight should have been stopped right there. Sean Woodson should have got the disqualification win, and I should have continued on with my parlays for the night. But unfortunately, the fight went to a draw, and I only got to keep my parlays in that had him winning straight up because it just voided the fight. All my fucking fights that I had picked Sean Woodson by KO and out the door. Any takeaways from the fight, man?
Yeah, I thought the biggest difference between the two was really it was the speed difference. Saldana, you could just see the speed in the hands, and Sean Woodson, he is a good boxer, and he's a big dude, but he walks very tall. Didn't really wasn't really kind of like postured up for any like big shots or anything like that. He was just really tall when he was stepping in, and Saldana was able to use his speed, use his footwork, was able to get off on angles and land big shots, and that was how he was able to land that first big check left hook that hurt Sean Woodson bad. And at that point, it's like, dude, and Saldana ends up letting Sean Woodson get up, and he's waving him up. At that point, like, dude, you could have went in and tried to finish him then. Then at the time when he drops him, the second time in the first round with another check left hook, he throws an illegal knee to his head as he's down on the ground. So it's like fight IQ for Luis Saldana, while he is like a savage, dude. Yeah, fight IQ for him was not the greatest there at that point because you had the opportunity once you dropped him the first time because Sean Woodson barely got up when he first got knocked down in that first round. Like he barely got up, and when he got up, his legs were wobbling, and Saldana didn't even try to jump on him at that point. But then he goes to throw the illegal knee. So just very questionable decision from him. But let Sean Woodson really back into the fight, and Sean Woodson was lucky to be able to get out of there with a draw because it could have been a lot worse than what it ended up being. But lucky for him that Saldana ended up throwing the illegal knee, ended up losing the point, and they ended up splitting the last two rounds. And I'm sorry, no, that Woodson won the last two rounds, and he got out there with a draw, but he should have been knocked out.
Yeah, dude. Just the interesting fight overall, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. The fight IQ of Saldana, it's not in the triple digits for sure. Let's just throw that out there. Moving on down, dude. AJ Fletcher taking on Angelusa, dude. AJ Fletcher, you can tell he trains with a diamond. He had the diamond. You could tell he was built in there when he was trying to get Angelusa out of there, but he wasted all of his energy, man. I'm surprised that Mike Beltran didn't stop that dude. He was just getting pounded on. So he must have seen something in Angelusa that is like he's like, all right, he's in there still, dude. But he had his back turned and was running and was just still getting fucking mollywopped. And Mike Beltran just didn't stop it, dude. But dude, AJ Fletcher literally used every single bit of his gas tank, dude. I'm surprised that he came out for round two, dude. He ended up coming out for round two and then round three, but in the end, Angelusa gets the decision, but strictly because AJ Fletcher had nothing left in the gas tank.
Yeah, he definitely dumped it all out there in the second round when he ended up.
Was it the second round?
Yeah, because Angelosa he won the.
Oh yeah. That was
Loza won the first round.
Yeah, it was like a pretty close back and forth, like fucking round one, and then Angelusa started coming on near the end, and then all that shit happened in round two. Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's when he ended up hitting. He ended up hitting Loza with a big. It was like a big left hand. He ended up hitting him with, and ended up hurting him. And yeah, he went out there and emptied it all. And like you said, he ended up leaving it all out there. But dude, I'm surprised that he was able to get off that stool going into the third round because hell, even just a minute after that flurry, when Angelosa was able to get back up, I mean, Fletcher, he had absolutely nothing left. And credit to him for going out there and trying to give it his all to get the finish, but unfortunately he ended up expending his old gas tank. When he was landing those big shots, and I think the biggest thing for him fighting at welterweight, dude, his reach advantage. He has a 67-inch reach. It just seems so small for a lot of the welterweight guys. Like his frame. just where he's so short and stocky as it is, I think he might have a little bit of trouble fighting guys at 170. But I thought it was a good fight overall. Him and Angelosa, they definitely brought it. They both, expended a lot of energy out there, and they're in the third round. Both of them were exhausted, but Angelosa was able to preserve his gas tank and ride out with the win.
Indeed, indeed. So that's the early prelims. Anything, or that's all on the prelims. Anything on the early prelims that you want to talk about, man? Amir Albazi, Arichi Lang, or Altamirano?
Amir Albazi, man, he looked really good. For him to control Figueiredo the way that he did, I thought that, I knew he was a grappler, but I figured, the Figueiredos, they're both black belts in jiu-jitsu, so I figured it would be pretty hard to control them both as far as the jiu-jitsu. Now I know Francisco isn't Davison by any means, but both of them are talented fighters, and man, Amir Albazi, he just ran right through Francisco Figueiredo. So that's a guy I know they said for the last couple of years, Amir Albazi's been going through some injuries and stuff like that, and he's been wanting to stay more consistent. So as long as he's able to stay consistent and everything, I can see him definitely working his way up into this flyweight top 10 for sure, because that dude, he looked like a savage, and the way that he was able to control Francisco Figueiredo, it definitely caught me off guard for sure.
Okay, so that being said, dude, that is the fights from this past weekend, UFC 278. We have a new crowned welterweight champion, Leon Edwards. He also helped me win this right here. Right here. Pick champ of the week, your boy, Matt Anderson. Don't forget it. A few weeks in a row now, 2 weeks in a row, just so you know. And after this upcoming week, it'll be 3 weeks in a row because you don't even got a chance to win it back this upcoming week. But that being said, let's move on down to the fight news and announcements topic, dude, before we start making our bold statements. So, anything that you want to touch on before we get started on the fight announcements for the week, man?
Was you still wanting to talk about maybe the whole, or maybe the
Oh,
direction of the welterweight division as far as
yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
it could
yeah.
potentially go next?
We'll do that real quick. So, the welterweight division as a whole, dude. Now that Leon Edwards is the champion, I assume that most people think that we're gonna get this ran back immediately. I guess that is the consensus from everyone. I just have one small wrench. It's very hard to convince me, dude, that if Kamzat goes in there and mollywops the fuck out of Nate Diaz in 2 minutes, dude, you have a hard time convincing me that they're going to let Hamzat sit on ice for not just until like the Leon versus like the Usman 2, but then you got like another 6 months after that, dude. Who is Hamzat going to fight within this full year? Because I don't understand how the UFC is going to let their biggest star at 170 right now just sit there for a year. I know he's already sat there for a year before, but he had COVID. He's healthy now. He wants to fight. He's ready to fight. It wouldn't surprise me if we got a Hamzat versus Leon before we got that Leon versus Usman 2, dude. And then whatever happens next happens. Because who knows if Usman, for example, what happens if say Usman versus Leon 2 is fucking scheduled, for fucking March. That's what everyone thinks. What happens in like fucking February, like when Usman's like, my fucking knee? Are they gonna jump right to Kamzat, or are they gonna postpone this shit out for another 6-8 months? You're muted, man.
Sorry, I was opening my water, so I wanted to be more quiet. But no, I think it is really tough. I think as far as like an injury or something like that, I think that a guy like Kamaru Usman, I think that he would probably, he's noted of having injuries before in the past. He had even said he had the hand injury going into this fight and stuff. I think the competitor that he is, I think that he would rather just go into the third fight with Leon with the injuries and maybe just make the excuse afterwards if he ends up losing again that hey, I had this type of injury. But I think the competitive nature in him, because he was tasting his own sauce a little bit going into this fight when he had even called himself the pound for pound best fighter in the world and we had thought that or at least myself I had thought that, but it does sound funny for him to say that he's the champion of the world and everything, that's cool, but for him to say that he's the pound for pound best fighter, that's a lot of expectations and the pressure that you're putting on your shoulders. But I think that he'll want to come back, and I think for Hamzat, going into the fight with Hamza or Leon and Usman, Leon hasn't fought since last May. He didn't really have much momentum riding off that Nate Diaz fight, similar to what we were just talking about earlier. He lost all that momentum in that fifth round going into that, or after that Nate Diaz fight, and he still ended up getting a title shot, and he waited a year and 3 months for the shot. I think a guy like Hamzat, you go in there, if he ends up doing his thing and he smashes Nate Diaz, I think the biggest thing for him, he's already a big star. You beat a guy like Nate Diaz, you get that rub even more. People are not going to forget about Hamzat Chimaev. So, say for instance, if the fight between Usman and Leon happens in March, and then they end up fighting, Hamzat fights the winner in September or October or something like that. I don't think Hamzat's really going to be that forgotten about.
Time. I'm not saying that he's going to be forgotten about. It's just that he's so hot. He's so he's for sure the biggest. People want him to be the champion more than anyone else. Yeah.
Potentially. I mean, I don't know if they want any particular person to be champ more than anybody else, but I mean, as far as what they can promote
star.
him to be,
yeah,
like overseas, I mean, he could definitely do some potential, but I think for the UFC, they're just such a marketing genius.
There's no way he sits on the sideline for a full year while he's healthy. If he doesn't fight for the title next, dude, I guarantee you it'll be another I don't want to say like a Nate Diaz, but dude,
do you know who he fights?
Don't be too surprised if you get fucking Khamzat versus Conor McGregor, dude, because who else is he gonna fucking fight? Because this is the stay busy money fight.
Colby is the fight.
Colby, dude. That'd be cool.
Colby is the fight. If he is wanting to stay active and he doesn't want to wait for the winner between Usman and Leon,
because I think Colby takes that fight. I don't think he'll fucking take that fight.
It's all going to depend on how this fight looks with Nate Diaz. I think that's going to be the biggest thing, because if Hamza ends up going out there, look, we're talking about him potentially bowling over him, but we were messaging the other day, and I just don't think it's going to be as easy as you're making it sound, that Nate Diaz is just going to get bowled over. So Nate Diaz is taking this fight for a reason. He seems to think that he sees holes in Hamza's game. So if Colby takes away
the person
from
that said
Nate
that he
Diaz
wants
fight,
to fight Izzy and Francis, that guy. Oh, okay. That guy. All right. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, come on, man. Come on. That's all for negotiation. But no, just in the perspective of this fight, he did call for this fight, and but basically my point in saying that is, if Colby sees holes in Hamzat's game after the Nate Diaz fight, I can see that potentially being a fight, because that's the biggest money fight at that point for Colby, is an undefeated dude from Chechnya that's running through everybody. And if he beats you, he's going to fight for the title. And if Colby goes in there and beats a guy like Hamzat, he could potentially fight for the title afterwards. So I think for Usman, I think he has too many title defenses right now in order to just say that you could just throw him to the side and not give him an immediate rematch. I think you give him the immediate rematch. After that, whatever happens, and Hamzat can fight for the title then. And if he wants to stay busy between now and that time, give him the Colby fight.
What to stop UFC from doing the whole DC versus like fucking Derek Lewis treatment to just the
because and I know what you're saying,
because I guess there's a threat that Leon loses that fight, as where I guess UFC didn't think like Derek Lewis was going to beat DC.
You answered your own question. Yeah, no one's going to take a short notice fight against Hamzat. DC even said in that instance he wasn't going to take a short notice fight against Stipe, but he'd take a short notice fight against Derek Lewis.
So I guess
just in that case, no one's going to take a short notice fight against Hamzat.
What is to stop UFC from stiffing Usman than the way they stiffed Stipe?
Because Stipe had it out for the UFC pretty bad. He was just talking smack about saying that the UFC wasn't paying him well going into that fight, saying that Alistair Overeem, as a title challenger, made more than he did as a champion in their fight. Kamaru Usman I'm not going to call him a company guy, but Dana's definitely had a lot of love for Kamaru Usman as of late. And I think for those guys, Dana does tend to have a little bit of a soft side and does tend to listen to those type of guys more. And I think there's a lot of money to be made in this Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman 3 fight, to where if Leon Edwards goes out there and beats him again, hey, you have potentially the next great welterweight, going to advance on into this division, or you have your reigning champion reclaiming his belt and going to march on next against the undefeated Chechnya fighter. I think you have just a lot of options, and I think just as far as UFC marketing, they're geniuses. But I think for the Stipe in this instance, Stipe didn't really have that great of a relationship with the UFC. Usman does.
All right, so Usman versus Edwards 2, you think is happening in March, and you don't think Hamzat fights again until next September or October?
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll want the title fight. He might, like I said, I think if he does take a fight, I think the Colby fight is the fight for him to take. And they're talking about Colby potentially maybe coming back early next year. I seen a quote from Gilbert Burns online earlier saying that he might potentially be back by spring sometime next year. So if Hamzat wants to stay busy during that time, hey, who's to say take that fight around, maybe next spring, and then you can fight for the title if you end up beating Colby maybe in the fall.
Gotcha. All right. Well, fair enough, dude. Anything else for the 170-pound division, or you want to move on down to the fight news?
Let's just do the fight news, but it's super, super interesting for sure.
Yeah, man. All right. So fight news, dude. All the fights that have been announced or working on over the past week. Up first, we got Renato Moicano taking on Brad Riddell. That is November 12th, MSG, UFC 281. Carla Esparza versus Zhang Weili, also on that card. Jairzinho Rosenstruck taking on Chris Daukaus, October 1st. I don't know who that guy is, so we'll move along. Karolina Kowalkiewicz going to get probably knocked out by Silvana Suarez Gomez, La Mavada, for those of you who don't know. That is a different one. Here we go. Natan Levy taking on Gerardo Valdez. He must be a UFC newcomer. You know him?
Not familiar with him.
All right. Ottoman Alzatar going to be taking on Matt, the Steamroller Frivola, on November 12th. Mike Davis.
That's a decent fight.
Mike Davis versus Uros Medic on October 1st.
That's a good fight.
Let's see here. Moving on down. Then, man, I hate to see this, dude. Tony Ferguson taking on the Leech, Li Jingliang, dude. That is September 10th.
That
That's
hurts my heart to see that.
that's literally 2 weeks
Yeah,
away, dude. Like
it's
fucking 3 weeks
like,
away, dude. That's
dude, like Tony, yeah, I love him half to death, but yeah, Leash has a pretty decent size advantage on him too. That's what's got me more worried.
yeah. Rafael Sunsao is going to take on the returning Victor Henry October 15th. He won me a bunch of money in a parlay that won not too long ago in his last fight.
Against Honey Marcellus, yeah, he was like a 3-1 underdog. Yeah, I remember. I hit
Yeah.
that same one. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, Victinus Salvador, he's going to be out, dude. He's going. Cody Durden steps in and faces Clayton Rodriguez, dude. So the dude from the Contender Series, like the other day, out of the fight now,
The
dude.
Brazilian flyweight, yeah.
Jake Hadley going to take on Carlos Candelario November 5th. Dude, what is the UFC doing, man? I think I sent this to you, dude. Duran Win getting another shot, dude. And if Phil Halls wasn't the level of person that UFC thought he can beat, maybe they think he can beat the Cuban Missile Crisis, Julian Marquez, dude. What are we doing here?
Dude, like we keep setting Deron went up for major failure, dude.
Dude.
Like I don't know what we're doing at this point. Dude, he was cut from the UFC and then they brought him back. I have no idea what they're doing, dude, and it
Dude,
just looks
that
it's sad.
dude, Phil Halls beat the shit out of Deron Win, dude. Imagine what Julian Marquez is gonna do to Deron Win. like,
Yeah, dude, and
like, it,
Marquez
like,
knocked out Phil Halls,
like, it,
so
like, like, it, like it's like up next, fucking Deron Win taking on Gregory Rodriguez. like,
dude, like it's it is absolutely ridiculous. I don't
Deron
get
Win taking
why.
on Michael Morales. like,
Yeah, Deron Win versus Alex Pereira, and it's like,
right?
why are we just sending this dude into like a body bag at this point? Like what are we
Yeah.
doing here?
We got the ex stripper Vanessa Demopoulos taking on Maria Oliveira on November 19th. The hangman Dan Hooker returning to 155 to take on Claudio Poyas. Not an easy fight for him, dude. How do you think that one goes?
Yeah, that's gonna be tough for Dan Hooker, man. I mean, Puelas, he's got a lot of good submissions. I think he's got 2 knee bars in a row in the UFC right now, so pretty good streak for him. And Dan Hooker on the ground, he's got pretty decent defense, but he has been susceptible to submissions. So don't want to see that go that way, but kind of seems like it.
Yeah, Michael Johnson returning in to fight Mark DeCasey, dude. What is this Mark DeCasey like as a wrestler, dude? His past 2 fights, he's like been like a fucking NCAA like fucking All American dude. Like he was known for striking, dude. What the hell?
He's a complete mixed martial artist now. He's making the evolution.
Is he
Now he's Mark DC DeCasey.
right? Carlos Alberg returning against Nikolai Negamarianu on November 12th. That's the MSG card. Should have known that one. That was gonna be on the Izzy card with Alberg.
Alberg's one of those guys that out of their camp out there. But Alberg, he looked good in that last fight against Nchukwi, so I'm definitely excited to see what he's capable of doing too.
You set me up perfectly. Speaking of Tefan the Don Chukwi, he's going to be fighting December 17th against Jamal Pogues, who just now got a contract on the Contender Series last week. And that's all the news that I have right here, dude. Something that I did hear was that Jorge was going to be fighting, I think, Gilbert early spring, something like that. So I think Dana White said that he was like, yep, sounds good. So I think like that maybe that's a fight that they're looking at. And also, dude, we talked about it a few weeks ago how we thought Kevin Holland was going to be fighting Stephen Thompson. I've been hearing some rumble now that Shavkat Rachmanov is going to be taking on Stephen Thompson, dude. Anything else from that, dude? Or your face seems a little like, what the fuck, dude?
Why would they do Steven Thompson like that
I
to
mean,
put him up against Shavkat? Like,
like either way, I don't think it's a good matchup. Like both dudes,
no,
I
but
feel like could.
at least Kevin Holland's going to keep it more in a striking basis to where it seems like it's at least going to be in the realm of striking 50-50. But Shavkat, the way that dude's a savage and he's been finishing everybody, and Stephen Thompson has already been getting out wrestled by Bilal Muhammad and
Gilbert
those
Burns.
guys. So, yeah, and Gilbert Burns as well. So man, I'd hate to see what Shavkat's going to do to him, man. That just kind of made me sad.
Yeah, man. Not too happy to see. Any other news you want to talk about, man, or do you have any other I guess any topics that I didn't talk about right now that that you want to bring up because you'll usually have something like, oh, you didn't say anything about this.
Oh no, I was gonna say for the most part, I think you pretty much nailed most of them. And if I had anything, I think you derailed it all by telling me Stephen Thompson and Shavkat are gonna fight because
Yeah, dude.
that completely
That's what
threw
I
me for a
heard.
loop.
That's what I heard, man. So yeah, it just like seems kind of odd. So we'll move on down to our last topic of today. Dorian wants us to I guess make some bold statements that we think could come true in the next I don't know, few weeks, next year, whenever the fights happen, or about a division as a whole. So I'm gonna go first, dude. You already know this one. My first bold statement, and we'll kind of talk about it from there. Uh, it's probably not too surprising to most of you that watch this show. I am a huge Sugar Sean O'Malley fan, and my first bold prediction is I think he's going to knock out No Mercy Peter Yan in Abu Dhabi in October, dude. I just feel like it's the way the fight is set up, it's almost perfect for it to happen. Peter Yan is a rather slow starter. Sean O'Malley will come right out there and fucking spin a head kick your fucking head in the stands in 30 seconds into the fight. He does not have to he tends to not have to have a lot of fill out process. However, even if he does, I think Sean O'Malley's still probably going to go up round one. If he can get a most of round two win, I still think he beats Peter Yan, even though he might not finish him. But I think he's probably going to knock him out. But my prediction is for sure Sugar Sean O'Malley beating Peter Yan in October in Abu Dhabi. I guess thoughts on that, man?
Man, I think crazy enough, it's not. It is bold because I think as far as what's going to be on the betting line, I do think that Sean O'Malley is going to be a big underdog, probably about a 2-1 underdog going into that fight. But I actually for some reason I believe the same. And the reason why I do is because I do think that and we'll talk about it a little bit more as the fight comes up. Obviously, we got 2 months until it happens, but I do think that Aljamain kind of exposed a little bit in Peter Yan's game and in his stand up when Aljo was kind of using a lot of footwork and staying on the outside. Peter Yan was winging a lot of those big punches and was missing a lot and kind of falling over his feet a little bit. Now, I imagine he's going back and working on that a little bit, but I do think O'Malley, who's really good at using his range, really good at using footwork, using his distance. I think he might be able to keep Peter Yan at the end of his punches, and the way that Yan kind of walks in reckless, I think that sets up perfectly for Sean O'Malley big right hand counter as Yan is stepping in, and I think there could be an opportunity that sets up to where Sean O'Malley can finish the fight as well. So yeah, I think it's bold as far as the betting line, but as far as the way the fight plays out, I actually do agree with you.
Yeah. It just Jan starts out so slow, yeah, and it's like, bro, he always loses round one, and this is a 3-round fight, bro. You have to win those next 2 rounds to win. So you're telling me if you can't get all that down early round two, dude, and O'Malley wins that round two, dude, you have to knock him out round three, or fucking Sean O'Malley's cruising to a decision there against the number one, I guess, contender in the world.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. But Like I said, we got plenty of time coming into the fight, so but it is going to be super exciting,
All right.
definitely.
All right, man. So
But yeah,
I'm gonna let you go. What is your first bold prediction of the day? Let's see if you can surprise me.
um, yeah, I think that and I know you were saying like maybe like the next year or so. So that's kind of what I'm kind of graphing this out. As far as fights, there's still fights that have to be played out, obviously. But I think maybe if you're talking about towards the end of 2023, your UFC light heavyweight champion is going to be Jamal Hill. And the reason why I think that is because I do think that that Santos fight actually showed me a little bit as far as what he's capable of. And I think that for him being able to dig deep like that, he brought out a good Thiago Santos in that fight. And he was able to bring out the dog in Thiago Santos, and I thought that he was able to display a lot of good wrestling defense. Even when he got taken down, he was able to get right back up. He showed me a lot of qualities that he's going to need to take to the top of the division. And I think Yuri and Glover are supposed to fight like maybe later in the year, talking November, December potentially, probably like December or so. They're looking at. So if they end up fighting, I think that Magomed Ankalaev is likely next, and then Jamal Hill fights Yan, which you can maybe aim for that to be early next year. And I think the winner of Ankalaev and whoever the champ is at that point ends up fighting Jamal Hill later in the year next year. And I think that Jamal Hill, I think he has the tools to actually beat Magomed Ankalaev himself. And I think that he's able to become the champ within the next year.
Maybe, dude, but just I think he has an issue on the ground, dude. Like fucking Paul Craig literally pulled guard on him and fucking subbed him really quick. I'm a Sweet Dreams fan. You know that. I guess I would just like to see something on the ground before I agreed with you that by this time next year he was going to be the champion. Because, dude, fucking Glover could go in there, take him down, take his back, and just fucking sub him in 30 seconds because he has no ground defense. Because Thiago Santos was trying, dude, but he hasn't ever really been known for his fucking wrestling, though. This fucking bug, dude.
He's interested in our conversation for sure. Yeah, I was. He seems to be a fan of the podcast.
Does that not give you any hesitation though? Like
well, I think in that Paul Craig fight, yeah, I think the Paul Craig fight for him, really the biggest thing was, I mean, he got taken, he let Paul Craig pull guard, but I mean, Paul Craig dislocated his arm, which isn't good. But as far as like everything else, like it's not like he actually ended up getting pulled down and was just elementary in his jiu-jitsu defense. That's actually one of the things that he really boasts himself on. And I think that's the reason why that Santos fight, even though Santos isn't the takedown artist that maybe Paul Craig is, or this not nearly the submission threat, obviously, for him to able to fight the way that he was able to keep his composure even when he was getting taken down. He was down on two of the judges' scorecards, even though he in his mind didn't believe that. He actually was down on two of the judges' scorecards. It just showed me a lot of guts and determination that he kind of needed, and good that he was able to get a sense of urgency to get up on his feet, keep the fight going, keep the pressure on, and get the finish. And I think that's a lot of qualities that he's going to end up needing to take into a fight, whether it's Yuri or Glover or Magomed. I think those are a lot of qualities he's going to need taking into a fight with any of those guys.
Okay, fair enough. All right, man. I want to say something that's it's gonna truly break my heart because it's probably one of my favorite fighters, dude. A belt's gonna change hands later on in the year, dude, and I think he's probably going to get knocked out by Alex, man. I don't know why. I feel like it's in the cards. That's my second bold statement. I hid it from you earlier in the show. I wanted to get your actual live reaction, dude. As much as it hurts my heart saying it, dude. I'm a huge Izzy fan, but dude, I don't know. It's just the way Alex can just drop people like they're a fly, dude. It just kind of makes me sick to my stomach knowing that he's already got beat by a decision by Alex and also knocked out by Alex. So that being said, dude, a 5 round fight with MMA gloves, I can't see it going any other way. I think Alex probably going to knock Izzy out later this year in MSG, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how, that's what a lot of people are coming to that conclusion, and I think that Izzy, he's a small, which the lines are very early right now, but he's a small favorite going into the fight. I think he's only like a minus 170, but I think the biggest thing with that fight is, going basing off their first two fights. Like, yes, Alex Pereira was able to get the knockout, but in their first fight, and I actually, I've gone back and I've watched them both. That first fight was super weird. Uh, and Alex might have won, but there was even
I
a point
think
in the fight where
I think the thing is like we don't understand the fucking kickboxing rules.
Right, right. But Izzy ended up having Alex Pereira hurt, and there was a standing 10-8 count. And some of the rules in Glory and other organizations are a little bit different. And in Glory, you're actually able to finish your opponent on the feet if they're wobbled, but if they haven't fallen, similar to how it is in boxing. But and I'm not aware of the organization that they fought for when they first fought. But Izzy had him hurt and actually just ended up getting a standing 10 count for Alex Pereira, and it was able to keep him in the fight when Izzy had him hurt and could have finished him. And they ended up giving Pereira the decision. And then in the second fight, Izzy was winning the whole fight before he ended up getting knocked out. So I can understand how you come to the conclusion just based off the results, but I do think when you look into it just a little bit more, um, for me, I can't come away with that conclusion just yet. Maybe when the fight gets closer, I'll be a little bit more nervous. But as of right now, I still feel pretty comfortable as far as Izzy remaining the champion middleweight. I still think his biggest threat is going to be some sort of grappler. I think as far as the striking, I think it's going to be hard to go out there and just completely outstrike him. I think his biggest threat is going to be any type of wrestler that can get in there and take him down.
I think it's absurd that you just assume that I haven't watched those fights, that I just fucking know the results, dude. You know how big of a fan I am. You just think that I just haven't watched them now.
No,
You just think I
no,
haven't watched
no.
them now.
Not saying that you haven't watched it, but I'm saying just anybody in general. Like I can understand how you come away with that conclusion
I'm
based
saying
off the results of their fights.
in
But
in in MMA, like the way they fight in MMA. One, I don't see Izzy all of a sudden like becoming this like great wrestler. At least not a good enough wrestler to take down Alex Pereira, because Alex Pereira like was stopping good shots from fucking Bruno Silva, like fucking getting like fucking right up from Bruno Silva, and he's a pretty like fucking good grappler himself. So I don't see it going like that. I just see the way that Alex fights, dude. He's super plotty, right in your face at all times, dude. And Izzy's good with footwork, but I almost feel like it doesn't seem like that's gonna work this time, because Alex has for sure seen that before. He's undefeated in like fucking in kickboxing, yeah. Like he's seen all the
I
footwork.
think he had a few losses, but just as far as like his record was absolutely ridiculous. So just all the
Yeah,
wins that he had.
yeah. It was just like I you can't convince me that Izzy can like fucking footwork his way to a decision by fucking calf kicking Alex. I don't think that's going to work in this fight, because Alex has a great equalizer to a calf kick. A fucking crazy left hook that I believe that's how he got fucking knocked out with in the first one. Yeah, he got like fucking countered with the left hook off the leg kick.
I think it was. I think Alex just hit him with a
Or
blitz.
it was just a straight up
Yeah,
left hook?
he just blitzed him because Izzy threw up his hands to protect from the straight, and Alex throws the straight right, and then he throws that left hook afterwards, goes around Izzy's guard, and just caught him clean.
Just like you have a hard time convincing me that Izzy is just going to just leg kick him when that can happen at any point with smaller gloves, dude. Like that's the thing, dude. You haven't seen fucking Sean Strickland put out by anyone, and the way Alex did that with ease, dude, it was almost like he knew that's what was going to happen. Like there was no convincing him otherwise. Like that's what he fucking went like fucking in there to do, and that's what he did. So
Yeah, well, part of my bold prediction, I don't think, and this ain't the prediction now, but I actually think that Izzy's not going to leg kick, and I think he's going to finish the job from the first fight, and I think he actually knocks out Alex Pereira because
okay.
I think Alex Pereira isn't scared of Izzy. I think he's going to
Oh,
step
not one
forward.
bit. Not one bit.
Right. So a lot of the guys that Izzy's fought the last couple fights, they've been very, very conservative. Jared Cannonier, halfway through that first round, he kind of realized what he was up against, kind of took his foot off the gas. Robert Whitaker was just a little more calculated. Marvin Vettori just didn't really have much for Izzy. But I think Alex Pereira is going to be in his face the whole time. He's going to hunt for the knockout. I think he gets a little overzealous, and I think he ends up getting clipped. Similar to how he set up Robert Whitaker in their first fight.
All right, so that's my second bold prediction, dude. What is your second one, and then we can get out of here because I know it's probably about your dinner time, man.
Yeah, we've been going for a grip, but no, I think, and I'll make it quick. I think I was saying as it pertains to a division, and I think that women's 145 is done so. I think that Amanda Nunes has maybe one more fight left because as far as what she's done in her career, there's not really too much more that she can do. She was able to right the wrong of the Juliana Pena defeat. I don't really see her hanging on too much longer. I think she has one more fight. And I think that she ends up calling it a career and she's done. And I think at that point, for women's 145 in the UFC, you got Norma Dumont, and that's probably it. And I think for this point, you were using it to try to promote Cyborg. So I understand that. And then you were able to promote the champ versus champ fight with Amanda Nunes and Cyborg. So you were able to build in that excitement. And believe me, I was one of many people who were excited to see the fight between Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg. But man, that was 4 years ago. And at this point, we're just fighting a bunch of just old, recycled, or just fighters who really don't even need to be in the UFC fighting for a title, and they're fighting Amanda Nunes at the biggest stage. And I think at this point, once Amanda Nunes steps away, there's going to be no need for the 145 division. I think Amanda Nunes takes one more fight, maybe at 135, maybe at 145, but after her next fight, it will be her last fight, and there will be no more women's 145 after this.
Two questions on your prediction. Does it have anything to do with Nina retiring recently? Is question one.
Yeah. I think part of it has to do with Nina retiring. I do think that her wanting to be, build a family. And I think part of it too was just, how much more does she have to prove?
All right, fair enough. And I'm gonna guess I'm surprised you didn't even hint at this. In her last fight, dude, who's it gonna be? I guess off the top for me, it would have to be either Valentina Pena or maybe Aldana. But
Yeah, I think, and you can say maybe between them. I mean, the money fight would be Pena. I
not
think
even
they'll probably do.
Valentina. Like you think
Uh,
the money fight would be Pena?
well, I think the money fight would be Pena just due to Pena can kind of trash talk a little bit. She's already beaten her once. Valentina is down 2-0. And that last fight that they fought, even though it was in 2017, I know it was a long time ago, dude, that fight was pretty damn boring. And I don't know how many people want to see that fight again for another 5 rounds. So I think probably it'll be the next title challenger, just the rightful title challenger in the division, maybe a Rainy Aldana, just whoever ends up coming up next out of the 135 division. And who is it that Irene Aldana fights? She fights no. Caitlin Vieira as well. So Caitlin Vieira is also an option out there as well that could fight for the title next. So it could be Vieira, it could be Aldana. I think one of them two, whoever ends up getting the title fight. I think Amanda Nunes fights them, rides off into the sunset as the woman with the most defenses in UFC history, and rides off and takes care of her family.
Do you think we'll have a reigning champion like that again in anytime soon, or is it going to be another 10 years before we have another Amanda Nunes?
After Valentina, no, I don't think so. I mean, I just think those two type of women are just one in a kind, and you're seeing it now with Usman. You know how close he was to Anderson Silva's all-time win streak in the UFC. You know his win streak got snapped. Just one fight before, because you can see the sport so sudden. Everybody's developing so quick now, and everybody's super well rounded that I think Leon Edwards kind of hit the nail on the head. The belt belongs to nobody except for the UFC, really. And whoever else has the belt, they're just paying rent for the time being until the next person comes up and is willing to pay more rent. I just kind of think that's how it is, and I think that's how it will be in the women's division for a long time after Valentina and Amanda retire.
Dude, how nuts would it be if Andrade moved back up to 135 and became the new Amanda Nunes, just ragdolling these girls, like just crushing them, like body shots, like just a little mini girl, like 5 foot nothing, dude, just destroying like Megan Anderson, like 6'2", dude.
I think she's sized out after a while, so that's why she
Yeah.
ended up moving down. But dude, she's definitely capable of giving a lot of those top 15ers some issues. So
For
Andrade
sure.
is
And
savage.
being so tiny. That's so nuts, dude. A 20-pound weight difference, and she can still give them problems, dude. But shit, dude. I really don't have anything else for today. Anything else before we get out of here, man?
I'll say I'm good, man.
All right, man. Well, that being said, we will catch you guys next week for the podcast. You'll catch me Monday for another card video. But remember, if you guys aren't already, we would really appreciate it, and it would help the channel live if you would subscribe. And if you haven't yet, treat that like button like Leon did to Kamaru Usman on Saturday night. That would be fantastic. Comments are always appreciated down below. And that's all from us here this time. I'm Matt Anderson, Dorian Rose on that side. This is the Golden Octagon MMA podcast. We'll catch y'all next week. Peace.